you know, you can decide, you're the board, you can add to it, you can delete, you can do whatever you want with it, but I was just kind of hoping that it might strike a chord with you. And that has to do with not just the monthly bill breakdown, but the overall estimated cost of the project. I mean, you'd be surprised at how many people still don't know. I mean, there were so many people that just didn't get a packet, and anyway, then it goes on. So I listed all those there, you can read, so I'm not gonna read it to you. And then I was thinking today too that there are some unknowns that I don't know where they fit. I don't know if they fit under the part that you're seeking exact numbers for what it's going to cost, but there's some things that I haven't heard anything about that you need to be upfront about it. And it's not, I'm not insinuating that you're hiding it, but it's not in the documents. I looked and maybe I missed it. So if I did, I would appreciate someone pointing it out. But like, what about the cost of the land for the treatment center? I haven't seen anything about that. And then Canadian National, they want to go underneath the tracks, under the rails. And I know that that's been an issue before, or a topic to which we've never gotten an answer. And I apologize for the typo there for under their rails, but anyway. And so I didn't understand too whether that would be part of the contract bids or where that would fit, but I certainly didn't see anything in the charts from Fairgram about those costs. And again, please tell me if I missed it.
I don't think you missed it. I think the price of purchasing land was included in that estimate.
Right.
And they didn't have I think we asked that at one of the meetings, you might have missed it, but they didn't have a definite number on paper. They had an idea of what the farmer would want per acre.
Okay.
Is kind of what I think they were.
I just didn't see it in the charts.
Well, let's just sit there. I don't think they actually have a hard number.
And I think that's problematic when we're looking at costs for the project, which is why it supports your argument for wanting exact costs, because if it's not in their estimate charts, in the document for the feasibility study, I'm sorry, it raises a red flag for me.
Well, and I think some of that is due to the fact we all know farmers will sell for a certain dollar amount. I don't know if that's the number they put in the contract.
Yeah, and
I don't know if it's 50,000 an acre or 7,000 an acre.
Right, and I just wish they had delineated that so that you could find it. And I think that's something that people would want to know. I mean, personally, I want to know where that's tucked into, and that's just me, but I want to know.
That would also change, I would imagine. I mean, whatever it is valued now can change.
Oh, yeah, no.
Well, and we all know that. We all know what inflation does. We're all experiencing it right now. And so that's just there. And then that's why I put the item there, are the two itemized costs part of the contract bids, because I couldn't find, I mean, there was no discussion. I reread the Fairgram feasibility study today, and they're just like, well, we're going to put it underneath the railroad. And I'm like, really? And so, like, where are you telling us that you've cleared this? Where are you telling us that you've done?
Well, I would assume that there has to be some kind of duck banks, because we're already underneath there.
I would hope so, but again, it was just me reading
maybe
it.
They know that, maybe I don't. But yes, it could be more clear, but usually the way construction works, when they go under it once, they don't just plan for that, they plan for future expansion. So whatever drainage is already going underneath there, potentially they have a duct bank that's 10 foot wide and a 2 foot pipe running underneath it. Okay. So there's more room for, I don't know that's the case.
But again, that's news to me. That's the first specific piece of information I've actually heard explaining how that works.
Well,
and if it does,
assuming.
I know, but I'm just saying that's the first I've ever heard.
Somebody else might know that lives here,
like that.
wherever, wherever that.
I just asked them questions, I mean, they're pretty, Graham, if I think of a question, I'll just send him an email, and that's a question I hadn't even thought of, so I think.
Well, I mean, it's come up repeatedly, so I mean, it's,
I'm sure
anyway,
there's
it's
one
back
unit going
again.
under 57.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not where it's at, and if it can't handle however big to take that far.
Sure.
I don't know.
I mean, because I know that they have to be very careful with the rails, making sure that there aren't any issues, you know, and they tend to be very specific about what they will and will not allow. And then I also was rereading it today, and maybe I misread it, but I just wanted to clarify, because the IEPA document mentions a 1.36%, not fear, Graham, hello, another
I think that
typo.
was a psychological typo.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just, you know, if I were back at work, I would have proofed this better, but I didn't. But in the document from them in the feasibility, it says something different, and so I was just trying to piece it together. And I'm a language person, I'm not a math person, which is why I thought it'd be better brought here. And then as far as trying to make sure that I understood, it said, if construction bids, and I know we're looking at the possibility, and we're looking at the survey, but again, I understand the push to know what the exact cost is gonna be. But if bids come in, I'm a little confused about what we're obligated to. If we get construction bids, at what point are we able to walk away and say, no, this is too much? And I guess that's what I'm asking. I mean, if we get the
At any
bids,
point, nothing's signed, so at any point, my
okay,
inclination was we get the preliminary number, because it's even even once this goes, if it went too far.
so if you
enough
get the
to
construction
bids,
grant, we can still walk away
as
from
long
it?
as we don't sign anything.
Right, yeah.
See, and that's what the whole,
The
this whole
grant is
next
only
step
to get
is because we're not
Money
going
to
to.
pay for.
Well, and I
study,
understood that from the last meeting, but then part of me started doubting it again, and I just kind of wanted to double check it.
There are many stages that we can stop.
Because a lot of people don't want to spend the time giving you bids if nothing's gonna happen. I mean,
No, for sure.
they feel like it's a waste of their
And
time.
that would
Why
also
did they
stop the
do that?
project.
I mean, it's, business is business, but, you know, then there's the other side of business, where you don't necessarily want to be tied to a bid that's too high.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, no, I'm under the assumption that if it goes past a certain point, we're done. We'll know once that number comes back, if it's over
Right,
8 million or whatever the number was, or 11 million or whatever, it's not feasible.
that's
If
why
we
it's
don't-
so
don't
important
get that
to
feasibility
do the
study.
next step.
We're trying to figure out where that break point is for if it goes over that $95 a month threshold. So,
Has anybody considered the costs of the utility that's going to be added to this?
It's my understanding, since Illinois American Water does not own this, that this is a flat rate.
yeah,
So that's not gonna be tied to your water bill.
Right.
your water
So
bill would be on
if that's
top
what
of
you're
it.
talking about,
Right.
it is, at this, it's not, because the village.
Well, it's an added utility to the water bill. It's going to be water plus
It'll be a
septic.
separate bill.
It'll be a
It'll be a
separate
separate
bill, not on
Okay.
your water.
Billed
bill.
through the
American
village.
Water does
Billed
not
through the
have
village,
that.
okay.
Right, because Illinois American Water has nothing to do
Oh.
with this.
Okay.
This is a village-owned.
Then I'm gonna ask a piggyback question on that, is because it used to be a topic that every time you flush, you'll add water to your bill.
Right.
So the way the Illinois American Water works on their sewer bill is whatever goes to that plant by the gallon is treated, okay? And that's what you get billed on. So however many gallons of water you use, if Illinois American owned that system too, they would charge you whatever their per gallon fee is, okay? So that's why a lot of places will tell you if you're gonna fill your pool, you get a meter for the pool, because it charges at a different rate, because they're not conditioning that water. It's a one-time deal, it's not going in, coming back out, going in, coming back out, it's done.
I didn't know you could do that. I have a friend who
Yeah.
lives in
So-
the village that
Yeah, or you can pay
Illinois American Water took that away. So,
oh,
when
it's
they
still
were,
available, it a guy just did it in, he's watering his yard right now in Urbana.
Well, that's weird, because when they were
Yeah.
here, they
It's
said they don't
$50,
do
it's
that.
a $50, deposit for the meter.
Well, you pay per month for their meter as well. You do,
It's a one-time, when he did it, he's watering his yard, so he has a manifold coming off, he's got a meter, since it's not going down his drain to be conditioned, it's just going to the storm sewer.
they don't tack on meter charges and other things.
It's a $50 deposit for the meter, once he takes the meter back, and they get it back, they give him his money back. But he pays for the water
Right.
at a different rate because it's not being conditioned.
So,
So that's something to think about too, I'm not trying to throw too much information in there.
no, but that's fine, and I guess my final question in that particular area would be, then, any water you use to flush your toilet, if this sewer project goes through, is not, I mean, you're gonna be using more water, so your water bill would go up, but it's not connected to the charge that you get for the sewer project,
Your water
correct?
bill shouldn't go up.
Well, that's, I guess that's my basic
That's what you're
question.
using right now, so your water's not gonna, unless
But
you
there
use
will
more
be,
water.
there will be another utility charge,
There will be a
though.
separate utility charge for the sewer.
That I understand.
Treatment.
I just thought at some point, the water usage would somehow be,
I'd be
Anyway.
lying to you if I told you it wouldn't, I don't know.
Right now,
well,
I've looked
but
at
that's the thing, that it's that gray area for me that I wonder about.
I don't know how the $95 plays out on that. If
Exactly.
That's a flat rate fee for everybody?
that's not included in the $95. That's, the $95 a month is the construction. Well, that's just my understanding of it.
Well, but again, just to go back to an area of asking questions,
No, for sure, 100%.
I mean, that's just my lack of understanding, but if you're using water and you've got the sewer project, you've got one bill on one hand, but if you're still flushing, and, I mean, at some point, I don't know how that balances out with American Water and the sewer project, I guess is what I'm saying. And so the gray area in between.
Do they bill based on filling the tank? No,
That's-
I mean,
don't know. I don't know,
if
since
the
it's not
water,
owned by them, I don't know how
Exactly,
that would.
that you're
how
not
Fair
billed
Graham had that
because you
figured.
flushed, you're billed your water bill because you're filling up the tank.
Right, but
Because you're using
again,
water.
it's usage, but I know I'm not being very clear, but there's
no, you
that
are.
connection between the two, that's kind of a gray area. And somehow my head is telling me that your water bill may go up some just because you're pushing,
Oh, you're
but
thinking,
you're not pushing.
Your water bill should not go up. My
quantity.
concern would be, what does the $95 cover?
Right.
Wholeheartedly, at the end of the day.
Well, you guys should
Here's
know
the
that
thing,
though
if
by
you
now.
use- if you
But
use
no,
100
they've got
gallons-
Yeah.
estimates.
That's,
If you
That's
use
all we
100
have is
gallons,
estimates.
It is,
and I
it is
use 1,000
calculated in
gallons,
there.
why should you pay 95 and I pay 95?
no, no.
They should have.
If
Okay.
you're not using the same amount of water as me, why should we both pay the same? I should pay more.
No,
So how
I
are they going to
understand that.
monitor what we are they going to piggyback off what water you use
And I
from
guess-
Illinois American Water to know how much water they're having to treat?
I guess that's what I'm
So
asking.
then
Oh, I
your
see
bill
what
might
you're
be
saying,
higher
yeah.
than
See, and
$95.
that's what I guess that's what I'm saying,
treat-
Yeah,
because
so I would
there's a
imagine that
catch
they
in,
would
yeah, there's a
piggyback off
catch in there
themselves. That would
somewhere.
have to be, in my opinion, how they would do it.
Yeah.
And of course, whoever uses more will pay a higher bill, as it should be.
Yep.
But, yeah, how is that gonna be done? And again, I didn't find language, so there are just a number of questions, and those were all my questions, and I
Well,
left
that
the,
should be something that they should be able to explain fairly easy, because they should know the per gallon charge that Illinois American Water at this time charges per gallon, so you could look at your last water bill and go, okay, I
Right.
used
right, because,
3,000 gallons,
yeah,
here's the
I'm sorry.
10-cent
again-
charge per gallon, this is what my water bill for the sewer treated should be.
well,
Plus-
but,
Is
again.
that in addition to the 95, or is that included?
But again, that's the thing that people are not gonna understand. I'm not gonna get that clearly unless I see it delineated in a chart. And so we're back, and I'll just leave this with you. I didn't mean to commandeer the meeting or anything. It's just, these are all the things that I just have percolating in my head. And that's the only reason you got this, typos and all, for the stuff that I was thinking about.
No, I think these are good questions. Does anybody have any other questions that you want to add to this?
Something on the back.
Yeah, there's something on the back.
Oh, just contamination.
I did have, I'm sorry, I apologize. I did have one question from someone who couldn't be here, and their question was, when we get some answers to some of these questions, would it be possible to report out on the agenda at one of the future meetings for public information?
Oh, I'm sure we would, because that's gonna,
Okay,
that meeting will give the community all the information, most of the information that we all need, whether we're gonna
Okay.
move forward to the next step. Until we do this 2,500, next
Right.
step thing, we're not going to know, we're not gonna have the answer.
no, and I understand that it will be a bit before answers are out there, but as long as it will be part of
Oh, it
the
will be.
process, that would be fine.
Yeah, because,
Okay,
and again, as I said, this is not something the board's just gonna go ahead and make a decision on.
and that's
We'll
not what
get
I'm
the
saying. I mean,
information.
these were all process questions.
Right, you'll get the
We're
information.
trying not to spend any of the board's money,
Right.
the village's money,
Yeah,
sorry,
we're
not the
trying.
board's, village's money.
Yeah.
This was all derived from a grant.
Right,
You know
and
what
I
mean?
understand
So
that,
we're
and
trying
I
to-
understand the next
We're
step,
trying to do our
depending on survey.
best with free money from the government, if there is such a thing.
And Elizabeth pointed out that the Illinois EPA has these phases, but
Yeah.
there's nothing that we can do about that. It's just-
Thank you, I'm done.
Are you sure?
I'm positive that's why I put it on paper.
Okay, well, our next step was to talk about, the proposed notice to property owners. This is what we were going to talk about and decide on. You all got copies of this. This is what we were sending out, to property owners here in town. It's the, survey type thing that everybody was wanting. And so, this is just a proposed notice to property owners. The Village of Pasota Board of Trustees is seeking your input on whether it takes the next step as it collects information to evaluate whether sanitary sewer system is in the best interest of the Village of Pasota. Surveys will be available at the Village of Pasota Community Building on the following days during the following hours. November 1st, 2023, 8 to 11 a.m. November 4th, 2023, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And November 8th, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
I have one recommendation there, if we could put the day of the week in there, I think that would be helpful, depending on states. Wednesday, November 1st, Saturday, November 4th, Wednesday, November 8th. I'm playing the role of Todd this evening.
You guys didn't pass out that, a copy of that.
Ava sent an email, I printed mine at work, I don't
Oh.
know.
I printed mine too, but I wasn't.
Just for board members, I see.
Well, because it's not a definite, so.
No.
Yeah, you guys are just discussing.
Yeah, these are board members. And I'm just
You
kind
will
of
get a
reading
copy
it
of the file.
Of course, yeah, I know.
what we were putting in the questionnaire. At these times, members of the Village Board of Trustees will also be available to answer questions. Surveys may be completed at the Village of Pasota Community Building and placed in a locked box. No surveys will be read until the December 1st, 2023 meeting of the Village Board of Trustees. At that time, only the outcome of the survey will be revealed, not the identity of those completing and returning surveys. If none of the times available are convenient for your schedule, please contact the village president or a member of the Village Board of Trustees to make arrangements to complete your survey. Thank you.
Depending on how large this is, we might want that contact information. I don't know if this is gonna be a letter, or is this gonna be on a card, or... It's just an announcement prior
That
to
is
doing that, so we might not
However,
need it.
the trustees decide they want that to go out.
Yeah, it might not need to be there for this small notice.
So for the ones out of state, it would need to, because we would have to be mailing them their cards.
Right?
December 1st is a Friday, right?
November.
Oh, no, but,
Oh,
Oh, but it
It's a
does say
Wednesday.
no surveys.
Oh,
but
December
it does
1st.
say December
It does say
1st,
December
correct?
And is that,
That's think she got the November
I
first.
think she did.
I was gonna say, cause I looked it up
Good
when
job.
after I got home from the last meeting and I was a little confused about that.
Yeah, so the open dates for people to come in here are supposed to be November first, the fourth, and then the eighth. And then open it all at the December sixth meeting.
Yeah, December
Yeah,
sixth.
December sixth. Good catch, right.
So our survey is gonna be available, through the mail
No,
or
you have to
only
come
for
in
pickup?
here.
Only people can only pick up these surveys. The only people who will be allowed to be surveyed will be people who will come in here person to
Fill 'em out
person,
and
fill
put
them
'em
out.
in
You'll
the
fill them out and
lockbox.
place them in the lockbox. You won't be able to take them out of here necessarily.
Okay.
You come here basically like you're voting.
So those are the only people really that are going to have their voice heard unless they write to you otherwise.
We have a list
Village
We're getting a list.
of,
We have a list of
The
people who
entire-
do not live in the state who are gonna have theirs mailed to them. And then at the last meeting, we were trying to discuss a further way to get to people who could not make it up here, whether they need to contact us to go
Okay.
specifically to their house and how to do it. We hadn't made it that far.
And then also the people that head south to Florida, so that maybe they can vote at some point prior.
so, it all depends on how, if how the board of trustees want this notice, to,
What it does say is that if you can't come, then contact us.
Right,
and we can
yeah.
make arrangements.
I think that suffices in
Yeah.
that.
So how will people be notified of the survey, this new survey?
This notice is getting sent out.
We're gonna get a.
It's gonna be a postcard?
right.
And tell them about the dates
Okay.
and all the other information that's on there.
Is it gonna be postcarded, like mailed out? Okay.
I'm not sure if it's a postcard form or if it has to be a
Yeah.
full sheet of paper based on the amount of information.
Yeah, not sure yet.
Right.
But that.
Yeah, that ED,
That's what
I think the
Kind of the
EDDM,
plan is to be sent out somehow.
yeah.
Plus, I'm sure we'll put something on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be something on the,
Marquee.
marquee, stuff like that. We'll try it in multiple ways too, to let them know to come up here on those days. But,
And then if they
but the
can't,
ones that aren't here are the ones we're trying to make sure we reach
Right.
too, So,
and the
I'm sure if
EDM
we
won't
miss
work
one or two.
It won't work, you see.
because we're being very
sure
specific
that-
about who we send it to, rather
I
than
see.
Aren't gonna get,
Yeah,
box
it's not
holder.
gonna come down to
Okay.
one or two, I wouldn't say.
So it's gonna cost a little more to mail
okay.
these real stamps.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're narrowing it down,
Right.
by having people come. I'm sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
you're fine. One thing we do need to discuss is how many votes a homeowner gets. In my opinion, it should go based on whenever you go to vote for anything, it's one per person, not for the amount of homes you own.
I mean, one per location rather than,
One per,
well, that would be more of a referendum type of thing. How are we going to get voter registration? I mean, how do we know
right,
that?
but in a referendum, it doesn't matter if you own 18 homes in this town, you
Exactly.
get one vote.
Right. What I was wondering if you just wouldn't want to take one parcel number gets a vote rather than multiple.
I think
homeowners.
isn't that what
But-
Elizabeth suggested,
Yeah.
to go by the PIN, the parcel number, and not by,
Right, but then there's multiple people in this town who have 10 parcel numbers.
And I've got this information right here. So there were 316 parcels, there were 42 duplicates, so there'd be minus 42. I just kept one for each duplicate. If somebody owned 5 properties, I counted them once, 4 is in that 42.
Gotcha.
And then there's one unknown, and the village has 6. So we'll figure out how to do this, but I calculated there are 267 parcels. Now, Glenn probably won't be able to vote, but he's also one of 2 parcels according to the list. So, does that make sense?
My opinion on that, I'm fine with one vote minus, but I think if you're gonna do the one vote, you need to minus the, however many homes that person owns. So if
Right.
somebody owns 10 homes, they only got one vote, you minus the other 9 homes off the total, so that doesn't misconstrue the number
Right,
of
Yes,
for or
it
against,
would.
you know what I mean?
right,
Yeah.
So,
what
I
this.
mean, we don't know, they may be for it, it could be a good thing for them if they wanted it,
Yeah.
or a bad thing
So you say the number comes down to 267 when you minus the extra parcels?
Yes, there came with
Okay.
316 parcels, 42 extras that we would take out. And I counted it twice, but I could have made an error, but you get the gist of how this is working.
Right, right, I
So
just
that
wanna
number
make sure I
may
was
not
following.
be technically concrete, are we sure those are all within the city, or what would,
These were all the parcel numbers that were given when, so,
I'm just making sure that all those would benefit from the sewer, or
yes.
so they have, actual input, you know what I mean?
Nope.
If they're not gonna be tied to it,
Yep,
then they shouldn't,
Right, then they shouldn't have a vote.
these
they
are all,
shouldn't have a vote, because they may vote for it, and.
I think that's strictly homeowners.
yeah, it's PIN numbers, and we're using where the tax bill is sent.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
bill
but-
to address.
I'm just making sure, if they're,
They're going to be whatever is, if you're talking about the one that's outside the village limits, they are included. But they are in the village, but outside the main one. That's
gotcha,
what
would
you're
they be
talking
connecting to this?
I-
That'd be
that
the only
is-
thing I'd look at,
Right. That is something that,
So-
that is another level to be discussed, I think.
potentially.
Oh, well, let me get a
Hook up
name,
to
tell
it.
me who he is.
I mean, if they're not gonna benefit
Yeah.
from it and they vote
I get
yes,
what
I mean,
you're
that's
saying
good,
now. I get it, there's some county people.
you know what I mean? I
So
mean,
give me-
potentially, you're only probably talking a handful, but,
No,
The last time I finger looked it up.
yeah, 'cause we've got names. What's his
Is he-
name?
Joshua.
There is a Joshua M.